the bat, the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, but not really the basement because we're doing it remotely. This is Real Spoilers, episode insert number later.
We'll get AI to do it.
Yes. Wicked for most. Or good or something. So, yeah.
Wicked,
so,
Wicked Part 2 is what you should have gone with.
I thought you were trying to be a DJ. Wicked, wicked.
Oh, yeah.
Wicked, wicked. Let's go around the virtual table and we can introduce ourselves.
This is Kevin.
This is Tom. Joe is boycotting because we're talking about a musical and it threatens his masculinity. So, kind enough to join us via the magic of Skypeophone, which we don't actually use anymore. It's Shaurya Chawla. Hey, how's it going?
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me back. It's been a while.
Yeah, welcome.
It has been a bit.
Welcome back. I think the last time I asked you was last minute. Totally understandable. I think you had something else going on, so I did try to get you on more recently than now, but it's scheduling.
Yeah, I'm so glad I could make it. I think last time I was moving my friend's house, and I was like, wait a minute, I gotta
The whole house?
help carry. Oh yeah, we moved an entire
Are you a trucker?
we summoned a tornado. And
I was gonna say it didn't land on anyone, did it? Because
Yeah.
I've seen that happen. It's not good.
It might. Yeah, I mean, not that we know of.
So before we dig in, shameless plugs. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you find a podcast. You can find us while you are there. Be sure and leave us a review because that's super helpful and greatly appreciated. You can follow us as well. That's even more greatly appreciated because then we get credit whether you're listening or not. Maybe, I don't know. They stopped that. They got wise to that game. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/real spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It is called the League of Show Sharers because we are hoping you will share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week include Glenn Cougar Mellon Brewer, Librarian Cynthia, Tammy Lynn Powers Betts, Jason McLean, Richard Krotzer, Gus Butisi, Travis Tewitt, Julianne Jordan, Brendan McGuckin, Tom Dowdy, Ralph Tribble, Gabriel Lugo, Chris Magic Man, Heather Sachs, Joe Faubert, Taylor Ward, Spoiler Piece Theater, Colby Mack, Nostalgia Cast, Ryan Terry, Mike and Oscar, We Geek Girls, Geek to Me Radio, The Kryptonian Orphan, Ronnie Castle, The Real Pete, Edit Photo Gamer, Matt Naglia, and In Session Film. So thank you very much for doing that. Also, you can watch all of these over on YouTube at youtube.com/@realspoilers. And then, of course, finally, don't forget we have a Patreon, patreon.com/realspoilers, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you extra. So there's all that. Let's dig in to Wicked for Good.
Part 2 of a musical that didn't need to be split into two, but it's going to make another $1 billion. So I guess
From a business standpoint, it makes total sense. From an artistic standpoint, perhaps not so much.
Yeah, I love the musical. I'll say I've seen it a couple times when it's been on the national tour. That we have a really nice theater in town called the Fox Theater. If you're local, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I've seen the tour. It's a great show. The music is really good. I will, preface that with, Act 1 music songs are really strong. The second act is the weakest. It just is in the musical, and trying to stretch a weaker act into a 2+ hour movie, I think, is a pretty tough task.
I would agree wholeheartedly. Overall, I liked this movie, but I will also say I didn't get to revisit Wicked before I had seen it, and I think if you had just got done watching Wicked, it probably plays better. But I also don't know that you need a 6-hour version of Wicked.
That's what I'm saying. When you mash the two movies together, what is this one? 220? It's almost 2.5.
It was 217, and I believe the first one was 240.
Oh, okay. So I mean, yeah, that to have a 5-hour, like the musical isn't 5 hours. You don't need this show to be 5 hours to tell this story. So clearly, I mean, it's a business decision. I get it. You know, it's what it's all about, making the money. But yeah, from an artistic standpoint, I think that they just stretched. This one stretched pretty thin. It had a slow start. It kind of picks up once it finds its groove. But man, the beginning of this movie, I was like, what are we in for here? I don't know. Shaurya, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page. Like I enjoyed it overall.
Yeah.
Like I actually have not seen the musical, and I don't really have, prior knowledge sort of going into it. So when I watched the first one as well, I was like going in completely blind. And I was curious, like, how are they going to tie this into, eventually the Wizard of Oz and stuff, and how they were going to bring things together. And yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part. I do not think it's better than the first part.
No,
I think that it does drop short. And I do agree. The first act, like I was watching it with a friend of mine. I think the first 30 minutes or so, we were like, we might be in trouble. Like,
yeah, it's like a really slow,
very choppy
and kind of bad start. I mean, when they start off and they're showing Oz and all the stuff going on, and I'm just like, what are we doing here? It feels so weird. Like they spent almost 30 minutes talking about like, oh, the witch is bad, the wicked witch. They just like go on and on and on. And like, you get it from the first movie and the end of the first act in the play. It's like, okay, we get it. It's going to start off, they're scared of her or whatever. But the way they stretched it out made me think like, what are we going to fill this movie with? And I mean, kind of as expected. I mean, the whole thing is just them running around, witch is bad, and there's just not a lot of plot to this second part of this show. I did want to ask you about those reveals, Shaurya. Did you go in completely blind, not knowing how it was going to tie into Wizard of Oz?
I knew it was eventually going to tie into it, but
like the characters, who was who?
I did know about Fiyero. I knew what was going to happen. I had some notion about where the Tin Man comes in and how that plays out.
Okay.
Not so much the process to that moment as to how we got there, but I had some notion, but yeah.
Okay. You know what I did kind of think was kind of funny, and I'm not saying it's a far difference from the musical, but when the lion comes in and then the people are like, what's his Bach, when Bach is like, they saved this baby lion and now he's scared. If he would have fended for himself, he would have been brave or whatever. I'm like, what? She saved him. Like, you're evil. She saved this. I just think that's a really silly argument for why he's scared, because he didn't get to suffer in a cage and possibly die or whatever. Like,
I think I saw. Yeah. I think I saw a bunch of jokes about that on social media already. It's like, look at my struggle. It's like, what struggle? You were helped.
He got rescued out of a cage. About? It's the dumbest. I just like, I think it's really clever. And Tom, we've always talked about how clever the musical is with tying into Wizard of Oz. But that one I think is a little iffy.
I don't remember how do they do that in the stage version? I don't remember.
I don't know if it's that like implicit. Like, I feel like in the stage version, he just, I don't know, he's been off on his own, so he's scared. Maybe they don't go like, you rescued him, so now he's weak or whatever. Like, maybe it's
right.
But I thought that was goofy. And then I will say, one of the things that was part of the first like 30 minutes of this film that frustrated me, thinking, oh my God, is this movie going to be so dumb? Whenever the Michelle Yeoh character, the professor, whatever her name is, the bad guy, Madame Morrible. Okay. Whenever she goes, whenever she gives Glinda the bubble seat thing, and she shows it to her, and Glinda, being her like naive, like silly, bubbly self, is like, oh, it's like a big bubble, and then Michelle goes like, yeah, sure, you can call it that. And then she goes to a pedal, and it's like, create bubble on the pedal. And it's like, It's like she literally just called it what the machine says it is, and Michelle Yeoh was like, "Oh, a bubble, yeah, sure, whatever." Like, it made no sense. I'm like, and so I thought, "Oh my god, is the writing going to be like this the whole time?" Those two things don't even mash up. Like, Glinda was literally right. It's called a bubble machine. Like, I don't know. So it was just silly stuff like that.
I did like when the one character called her Mrs. Marble.
Yeah, she's
Bowen Yang's character's like, she's not married. She's
That was funny. Yeah, I did like that. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think the movie, again, once it finds its footing, like, it's fine, it's stretched out, but you know, it just doesn't have the strong songs.
We need a Topher Grace edit.
We do, right? Well, and it's going to be like 2 hours of the first movie and 45 minutes of this one. And I
Right.
guarantee you can get a 3-hour version or a 2:45 and mash this thing together.
And it would be a 5-star movie.
Phenomenal, right? Because that first movie is so good. I mean, you said it was your favorite movie of the year, right, Tom? Like, literally.
I'm trying to remember what else came out, but like, I liked it a lot.
You had it.
was
I
really
remember
good.
for a while after you saw it, I feel like you said it was one of your favorites of the year, if not the favorite. And like, I saw it and I'm like, yeah, I get that. It's really good. It's a really faithful adaptation. They stretched out the first part too, and like, those weren't as egregious, right? Because you've got so many good songs and most of the plot happens up front. So it's like, okay, they padded it a little bit so you felt like you were getting a full movie out of it. But again, they did it really well. And I think if you just kind of wrapped it up like you do in the act 2 of the play with this one, kind of just get to what you're trying to get to, what's going to happen to these characters to tie them into Oz. How is the Wicked Witch going to get away with it? Or how is she going to survive this thing? You could probably wrap it up. And I think they're going to release a version, but I don't think it's going to be a toned down one. Like, if they release in theaters, it probably will be the 5-hour mashup.
Yeah, the Roadshow edit.
Yeah, and I would be curious, Shaurya, did you watch the first one like right before going to the screening of this?
No, actually, the first time I saw the movie was last year, exactly a year before the screening of this one, and I haven't seen it since then.
Same here. I don't think any of us have watched it. Like,
yeah.
I mean, no problem. I was just curious because when the second one starts up, I'm curious how they run into one another, like how the first one ends and this one runs in, because I feel like if you are doing a part 2, like, and you just watch the first one, like I imagine in the future they want you to do, watch the first and second, I feel like it's kind of a jarring start, like the way that it kind of drags on and whatever. Like, I don't know, to me at least, from what I remember when I started, I was like, come on, let's get into it. We know what just happened in that last one. And I don't know, it just seemed kind of abrupt, but I think I need to watch both together or talk to someone that did. The acting was fine. Even though I think Ariana Grande is good in the role, sometimes I felt like it kind of wore thin on me. The Glinda, padding out her character a bit more. I don't know if you guys felt the same at all.
Tom, after
I think I missed the chipperness of Glinda, right? Because the first act is so much lighter, and so and so like that's to me what makes Glinda or Galinda, if you prefer, endearing. Endearing is that she's very vapid, but like earnestly so.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she's like, even when she's doing something, she's not mean-spirited about it.
Yeah.
And so that you end up liking her sometimes in spite of yourself. And so you didn't get as many moments of that. Now, I also recognize that, like, that's kind of the point, right? Her character is growing, and she's growing into becoming a leader that's going to hopefully transform Oz. She's going to make Oz great again. Let's call it what it is. And in fact, there was one little moment, and I do think Ariana Grande is great at creating these like little moments. There's one little moment where she does that kind of shimmy she does where she's very proud of herself, but it's like she does it in a way that's kind of sad. Like, she's almost like, remember when we used to be like this? And it's a very quick, I don't remember exactly when it came, but like, I thought that little moment, I was like, that's some good acting, the way she kind of incorporated that within the character of Glinda.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree she's really good. I mean, she's good casting. I think, like, you know, if you were going to channel Kristen Chenoweth, like her personality and her performance from originating the role on Broadway, like she does a really good job of like the spirit of the character. I'm not saying she's doing a parody, right? Because she does
She's not impersonating
She's not.
Kristen Chenoweth's, but it's definitely like imbued with that essence.
Yeah.
But it's definitely her own take on it.
Yeah.
Which is difficult because like Kristen Chenoweth, in a lot of ways, it's like trying to play the Joker, right? Like you've had some great Joker performances that it's hard to not just do those again, which they're so iconic that would get you as much backlash as doing something very different. So it's a tough line to walk.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I think her performance is good. I think Cynthia Erivo's character, her performance is more nuanced. I think she's a really good actor, really good in these movies, and I feel like I'd like to spend more time with her character. You know, and I just think that when we go back to Oz and what's going on and them stretching it out and all the Glinda stuff, like it got a little bit like, okay, let's get back to the other part of this. I wish they could have maybe explored more of Elphaba's character, you know, more of what she was doing and trying to do from the other perspective. But with that being said, I mean, those two leads are good. Jeff Goldblum, I mean, I love Jeff Goldblum, but they also kind of expanded the wizard stuff in this from the play. I don't know. He just wasn't doing it for me in this movie. And I don't know why, because usually I think he's so great. But did you guys, I don't know. His performance was just a little off to me.
I mean, I think he was just having fun with the role after a while. I think, like, you know, he was like, listen, I know some of this is, you know, not necessarily maybe working to 100% degree, but I'm gonna try and make the most of it, which I do appreciate, I guess, like especially like the first, like the big scene you have with him where they're like all dancing together.
Yeah,
like it's like, all right, you're having fun with this. Going back for a second, I think Ariana Grande is incredible in this role, by the way. And I think she does a wonderful job. But so I was just saying that, and so does Cynthia Erivo. But I don't know. I think Goldblum worked for me in this one, weirdly enough, a little more than he did in the first one. If
interesting.
That makes sense.
Well, the thing that I feel like about Jeff Goldblum is that he has become such a caricature of himself. Like, I do truly believe that Jeff Goldblum is quirky and weird, and I love that about him. Like, I think just him in interviews, him just being himself, love it. I think it's great. But I almost feel like now... I could be wrong, but I feel like they're writing in his quirkiness. Like, you know, the script may as well say Jeff Goldblum it up right here. Like, it to me, it almost felt like they wrote in his quirks to the script. Like, they didn't seem as organic as usually Jeff Goldblum just is, so quirky and natural, that in this movie, the things he did felt a little bit like him playing Jeff Goldblum, if that makes sense at all.
I think when you have an actor like that, the other one that comes to mind is Christopher Walken.
Yeah,
his tics and mannerisms are so unique that, you know, or later era Al Pacino, right? Like the post hoo-ha Al Pacino. It's you know, like it does border on self-parody sometimes.
Yeah, that's the only way I can describe it, because I'm like, oh yeah, Jeff Goldblum, and it takes him a really long time. I don't feel like in the play it takes you that long to get to the wizard, but again, with the way they pad out the beginning of this movie, I don't think we get the wizard for like 45 minutes when Glinda goes to talk to him, and then he finally shows up, and then Elphaba shows up, and you know, they're trying to do this whole thing where, okay, that's the other thing too that I feel is a little strange. And I can't remember it from the play. I wish I had seen the play more recently. But when she shows up, so she's enemy number one, and they're all trying to get her because they're trying to orchestrate that the Wicked Witch is the enemy of Oz and all this stuff. And then she shows up, and it's just like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like, you know, let's all be friends now. There's a really jarring tonal shift. And like, I get that they are like turning this political. I get they are creating an enemy for the people or whatever, but you would think that like they would kind of play it up a little bit or have a plan to trap her when they do finally get her, or if she comes back. And the way that they're like, think about the end of the first movie and how much they were all trying to catch her and get her and do all this stuff, and she shows up and he's like, oh hey, join us, you know, hey, like it's just a weird thing. It doesn't feel natural in that way.
I don't know. I felt like I didn't have a problem with that because I saw it as they were still trying to bring her on board because also from their vantage point, she's the one that can read that book.
Yeah.
Right. And so they can't read that book. So they still need her. So in a perfect world, they'd much rather work with her than against her.
Yeah.
So I didn't think that was crazy. Although I don't know, like if she would choose to work with them, then I think within the story construct, would she be able to read the book? Right. Because the implication at the end, you see Glinda, like the book, she can now read it because she's trying to do something for the greater good. Yeah. So like I interpret that as that book is like Thor's hammer. You can only read it if you're worthy. So like as soon as she uses the book for ill, like would she still be able to read it?
That's true. And would she even use it for that, right? Like obviously would Elphaba ever even join them? And clearly she wouldn't. Once she finds out in the movie what they're actually doing, she's going to put a stop to that. But I did just find it strange. Like, oh yeah, hey, join us. And then I also felt like I had kind of forgotten the whole thing with the book in the first movie. Like, did that thread even continue in this movie? Like, the book just seemed to be kind of a side item. Like, Elphaba has it, she's using it, and, you know, the spells that she does cast that are like, you know, you've gone and visited some ancient shop where the guy's like, yeah, this thing will give you 3 wishes, and every wish, like, you know, does what you say literally, and then it turns into some catastrophe. Like that's how you know you get the Tin Man in this movie. Spoilers. That's how you get the Scarecrow in this movie. Like Elphaba's trying to use the book for good, but it also you know comes with these little asterisks on there. And what were your thoughts, Shaurya?
Well, what you were asking about earlier also was how they threaded that from the first movie into this one, which they did in the sense that when she inadvertently created the flying monkeys in the first one with the book, like she didn't realize what she was reading, and then that's what cast the spell, and you know, because that's how they grew the wings out, and that's what they kind of use as like the scapegoat. It's like, look what she did to the monkeys, like, you know, do you want to see this monstrosity all over Oz? You know, she's a villain. So they did tie that back into this one because she's trying to appeal to the other animals who are leaving, like, stay here, like, you know, which I believe is a song I don't think that's in the musical, apparently.
Yeah, let me look that up because I know they wrote a couple of new songs.
Yeah, because you can't get an Oscar if you don't have a new one.
Exactly.
Oh, right. But I remember she sings that song, and then that's when the Cowardly Lion comes in. It's like, you know, look what she did. And then also, did you see what she did to the monkeys? It's like, that's the thing that they kind of use as like, you know, a thread to the entire thing.
That you're right. Yep. The animal song, the song that, whatever it's called, I'm looking it up, but the one around No Place Like Home, which is, you know, okay. I really like how the musical threads that needle and you know, brings in the Wizard of Oz, but there were a couple times in this book this movie where like, the song's called No Place Like Home. Glinda says something, which is like a quote directly out of Wizard of Oz. I can't remember again what it is, but like it got a little too cutesy for me at times. I don't know. Maybe my cold, dead heart just isn't up for that kind of thing. But like, you know what I mean? When they wink at the camera, like, hey, remember that thing that, you know, this ties into, and they say the exact line from, you know, it was one of those moments where like
I don't know. As nerds, I don't know that we can complain about fan service.
I know we can. Like, look at my background, man. Like,
I know. When it's done well, we've talked about this on the show time and time again. When fan service is done well, it works really well. But when it's a little winky at the camera, because there was something, God, again, I didn't take notes, and now we were supposed to record this a few days ago, so like I've seen the movie a week ago now, but there was something they said that was like a direct line from Wizard of Oz or something, and like the way they said it was like, is that how people talk? Or like, obviously she hasn't seen that movie, these events haven't happened or were happening simultaneously, right? So she said something, I'm like, she wouldn't say that, you know. It was just like straight fan service, it was not a organic thing, right? And that kind of bummed me out. I wish I remembered the example, but No Place Like Home is when she goes to the woods, and we find out that because the thing that the wizard is trying to do is he's trying to round up all the animals. They used to be able to talk, like we saw in the first movie, and he's taken their ability to talk away. They're losing that, and so the remaining animals of Oz are trying to escape through almost like a underground railroad type situation. They've dug up the yellow brick road in the forest, and they're trying to escape through it. And Elphaba is trying to say, "Hey, stop! Like you guys are what makes Oz amazing. You're the inhabitants. You need to stay here and let's fight. I will protect you." And then that cowardly lion runs in and is like, "She saved me." It's just like again, I think it's the dumbest through line. That one I just cannot stand, but it's so weird. He runs and she's like, she saved me from my cage where I was enslaved as a child. Stop.
Just the way you said that right. Just the way you said that right now.
But like seriously, I don't know any other way to take it. Like I think it's so goofy, and then the animals are like, "Is this true?" And I don't know. It's a little strange, but anyway, they end up they don't believe her, and they end up escaping through this yellow brick road. And so and then the second one, let's see here, is The Girl in the Bubble. So it's another Glinda song. Hold on, let me look up. So people, I'm looking at the website with about the two new songs. They say, toward the second half of Wicked for Good, after an angry mob of people gather outside the beautiful chambers of Emerald City in a hunt for Elphaba, prompting her to contemplate the part she has played in everything that's happened. So,
oh, yeah, okay, that's the song.
Okay, yeah, I don't know if either of these are getting Oscar love, because I don't know that any of them really.
to be honest, I mean, it's a competitive year right now, and I feel like I've heard a few better songs in other movies. It's a couple of them in that movie right over there, Sinners.
Oh my gosh, dude, Sinners! Talk about an incredible movie. That one, they're bringing that to IMAX for a week in December.
That's good. I saw it a couple of times in IMAX. It's beautiful up there.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. I think Sinners and maybe One Battle After Another. There's something else they're doing for a week, but those would be good ones to catch. But yeah, so I don't know. The two new songs I don't think necessarily added too much. I mean, we talked about this after the first one, that there's only a couple of songs that are really memorable. No Good Deed, and what's the other one? For Good, I guess, is up there. But honestly, nothing hits like the songs in the first one. First half, first act of the musical.
Nothing sends you out humming like Defying Gravity or Popular.
Defying Gravity, yeah. Popular is a crowd pleaser, right? Popular is the song that just gets the whole audience energized, and it's so fun. It's funny. Ariana Grande, talk about her performance in the first one, so good. Like there just isn't a number like that in this one. I think that's like a crowd pleasing number, and I know it's darker and everything. I totally get it, but that's the problem.
But Defying Gravity is dark.
That's true, but that song is a ballad. That is a show-stopping number, and you end on that, and you're like, wow, I am pumped. And that's why I think if you watch these back to back, my feeling is, not having done it, but just knowing what it's like coming back to the second act of the musical, like you end on that high note, and the second act doesn't really ever do anything that exciting. It's a lot of running around. It's a lot of the witch is evil, and then Glinda being like, "Oh, I want to save my friend," and then I mean, it's a tragedy, right? Like it's a tragedy, and definitely Act 2, they into the woods it, right,
it gets a lot darker. But I like Act 2, but it's Act 1 gets to have fun. Act 2's got to do. And so it's when you divorce the two, it makes this movie feel like work in a way that the first one didn't. Yeah, and I wonder how the reception is to general audiences. When you take them in tandem, it's a lot. It definitely has a different vibe, and I think on the. As I said at the top, it was a good business decision, not necessarily a good artistic decision. But that being said, the period of time when those two are separated is a blip in terms of the lifetime of this movie. Exactly. Right? Because moving forward, most people I think will just watch them back to back. That's just what they'll do. And that's how it will live for 99.9% of its life. Like never again will someone watch Wicked and then wait a year to watch Wicked for good.
Right. So the problem becomes, to your point, that you watch the first one, you're like, oh, this is so fun. And I feel like a lot of people are going to go, do I really want to watch that second one? Like, if it were one movie, right, you'd watch the whole thing because you go, okay, we're watching it. First half is really good. Second half gets darker, but let's see how this ends. But like, I feel like seriously, people might go, I'm going to watch Wicked Part 1 and I'm good. I know what happens.
I could totally see that happening, especially when Wicked, like when Act 2 gets darker. If this was all one cohesive unit, you'd be like, oh, it gets darker, but I've already watched up till now, and I've only got 40 minutes left. Where now it's like, oh, but there's another 2 hours, and so I definitely see people like going to the songs.
Let's catch
Shari, I think he was trying to.
You know what all of this reminds me of? This reminds me of It, where everybody watches. But even in the book, like once you're done with the childhood section, the adult section is the part where it's going down, but it's also the part where it's like, this is the weak part of the story.
It is.
This is the part. This is the part of the story that is not as good as the section you just watched. In fact, when I went to see that movie, which, by the way, this and It Chapter 2 do not have dissimilar receptions if you look up like critic scores and all that.
I was just about to mention, right? The first half was really critically acclaimed, really beloved by everybody. 68% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is obviously not a fail, but like 68% is a big drop.
It's a 20% drop from the first one.
And I think it's for good reason. It's the stuff we're talking about.
But it just reminded me because I remember watching the second It movie as well, and I remember walking out of that also and being like, well, I mean, it was fun, but I also had like a caveat in saying it was fun. It was like, look, it's fun in the sense that if you knew going in that this was not going to be as good, then you know that this is going to work, as well as it can. Yeah. So I think the joke I made is it's one of the most faithful adaptations because it's just like the book in that it's not as good.
Exactly.
Well, it ain't just like the book.
No. Thankfully, it's not just.
Yes. Oh my God.
They scrapped some. There's some good decisions there to take some.
I still can't believe they did some of that in the book, but I just remember thinking like, it's what you get. Like you can't. After a while, it's like, am I mad at the movie or am I mad at the original material for not being that way to begin with? It's like you can only work with so much.
I remember reading it when it came out. So like I read it pretty close to real time. I didn't read it in hardback, but when it came out in paperback, because I wasn't going to pay that much for a book. But when it came out in paperback, I remember reading it. So I read it pretty contemporaneously to the time it was written. Because I know sometimes people like to apologize for that and be like, well, it was a different time. And I even remember reading it at the time and being like, what? Is everything okay, Steve? Like, what's going on there, buddy? Like,
yeah, definitely some weird stuff. But yeah, going back to this one. So when we talk about the box office, so that's the big thing. They split it into two parts for the reason of making money. It opened to like I think $140 million domestically. Right now, it's at. I've got $161 million domestic, $76 million international. So in about a week and a half, $237.7 million, which
is more than the first one.
And we're going into Thanksgiving weekend. And I will also say, I went to see a movie last night. We're recording on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So I saw a movie on the Tuesday. I went to see Eternity. And that parking lot was full.
Yeah.
I got to think that was Wicked, not Eternity.
And Zootopia 2. And Zootopia 2.
Oh, I forgot that that's already in theaters. Okay.
Which is very good, by the way. I saw it last night. Very enjoyable movie.
Good. Oh, cool. That first one's great. First Zootopia is great. I'm looking forward to the second one. But yeah, when I went on my screen, so I went on a Saturday morning, right? So like I'm trying to get it out of the way early. I figure more people are going to go out in the evening, Saturday night, afternoon, whatever. And I looked at 10:30, 11, 11:30, 12, almost every showtime on the Saturday of release was sold out. I mean, I do not remember another time since the Oppenheimer Barbie thing that the theaters have been this packed, and the first Wicked obviously was very packed, but I thought for a Saturday morning, the fact that people are going out in droves to see it.
I think for a lot of people, this is a kid's movie. Like, I know it's, or at least a young adult movie. Like if you, so and I also think it's maybe not a 4-quadrant movie, but it's a 3-quadrant movie. And so I think you have a lot of moms and daughters or grandmoms, moms and daughters. It's a multi-generational thing, especially because of the Wizard of Oz aspect. So it's, you've got the, a grandparent or a great grandparent who, they've been watching Wizard of Oz for the entirety of their life, and they've probably already familiar with Wicked, which is also a beloved property in its own right. And so, I think this is a family movie for a lot of people.
I do think it's like an event movie where you go out with your friends and stuff too, because I will say when I was there on that Saturday morning, every showtime around me packed, I saw 2 other men in the entire theater. Like it was clearly like groups of women going out with their friends or mother-daughter, like you said. And so I just found that interesting that like some of those movies become these event movies where, I'm going to go out with my group of, girlfriends to go see the movie or whatever, and it's like, to me, I just think like, oh, this is a good movie. Like, I've seen the musical, it's good, but it's funny how with the Barbenheimer thing, like they've turned these movie going experiences into events more than let's just go watch the movie.
Yeah.
Which is kind of where I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
I mean, you after you.
Oh, I was gonna say, it's interesting to see event movies move past nerddom, right? Because event movies historically have been nerd things, right? It's been a new Star Wars movie or a new Marvel movie
or action, right? Like just the big action blockbuster in general. Like now a Barbie movie, a Wicked musical movie can be event movies, and it's so different.
The first one I really remember like that was Sex and the City. Like they really turned that into an event movie, and an event movie for not just nerds. And I think that like you used to have more of that, but like movies didn't open wide in the same way. So like I think you could have said like Jaws or The Godfather or The Exorcist were all like event movies, but these days the whole business model is based around it opens wide. Everybody sees it on the same, or at least has the availability to see it on the same day or the same weekend. Where back in the 70s and even into the 80s, like that wasn't as common. You would see these movies, they'd start on the coast and they'd start working their way across America.
Yeah,
and
now
so,
you get maybe 1 week where it's like LA and New York, they open, and then the next week is wide usually.
Yeah, if it's and even then, a lot of times it's only on the on an art house movie or something.
They do it for art house for sure.
But like on the big ones, they're not going to do that for a Wicked or a Avengers movie.
Well, and I mean, I know I'm going to sound a million years old, but remember going to the movie theater and getting turned away because the movie was sold out?
Yeah,
I mean it's bizarre. Man, we do sound like really old people when I say like kids don't understand how good they have it. I mean,
I will. I'm sorry. No, I was just gonna say I will tell you the one story. The first time I saw an event situation, which was not like a popular franchise or something already, and I think you can guess what it was. It was Avatar.
Oh, and
I remember it took us, and I'm not actually joking about this. It took us 1 month to get tickets to see Avatar.
Oh, wow.
Because it was completely sold out at the time. And I remember my folks and I, we multiple times, it's like, so the theater that we were going to at the time, this is in India, mind you.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is 2009, it's Christmas time. We're going to the mall, it's like, buy some gifts. It's great. New Year's is coming up. And we would stop by the theater every now and then, just be like, hey, you guys got tickets yet? And they're like, no, we do not. Like, please come back like 2 weeks from now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And that's when we first got tickets for like 2 weeks later. And it was the third row in 3D, which was still
oh my gosh.
It was like, yeah. And I remember like we were turned away for that. We got turned away on Transformers, I think in 2007. Yeah. That was a franchise movie.
But no, you make a great point with Avatar though, because that was an original property, and that movie was a cultural phenomenon because it was the right place, right time with 3D. So the movie was not only entertaining and had really good special effects, but 3D was huge, right? And that kind of set off the boom where everyone tried to do it. A lot of them failed. Some of them were decent, but that movie was the highest grossing movie of all time.
It still is.
Did that take it back? I thought that one of the other. Okay.
So China re-released it right after COVID settled a little bit, and then it overtook Avengers
Oh
Endgame
my
again.
god! I
So
didn't realize they got
it's,
it back. That's so funny.
Yeah, they got it back.
But you're right though. So it was like everybody was seeing Avatar because we were all talking about it, right? It wasn't just nerds. It wasn't just sci-fi fans. I mean, you were talking about everybody was going to see this movie, and you know, even theaters then obviously there were multiplexes, but still, like it's just grown and grown. And now, much like you know, a new release comes out on home video, you don't have to go to Blockbuster and hope that you get one of the 10 copies on the shelf. You can stream, you can buy, you can get it from whatever service you use. In theaters, it's like, well, if this theater with 14 screens doesn't have it at its 50 showtimes, then I can go to this theater with 20 screens or this theater with 12 screens. And there's
or they'll bump something if they have demand. They'll just bump a movie.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, exactly. They or like if Alamo hears Tom wants to go see a movie, they'll just bump it.
They'll cancel it
for whatever it is. You know? But yeah, so I mean, basically, like we said, I mean, we're not going really plot point by plot point. It's not a ton happening. But Elphaba is running. They're trying to get Elphaba. She comes and they sing a song. The wizard and Glinda and Elphaba sing the song together, trying to coerce her to like join them. And it seems like it's going to work out. But she ends up seeing that the wizard still has animals in cages, but like below ground, and she realizes the wizard does not have good intentions, and he tries to come off like, oh, I'm just doing this for the good of everybody, but you know, he essentially wants to round up all the animals and still do all this evil stuff. And so Elphaba's like, no, I'm not joining you. And meanwhile, Glinda is going to get married to Fiyero, which I thought was really crappy, where like during a public speech that she's given, she's like, oh, and let me announce you to my fiance Fiyero, and Fiyero comes up to her and is like, oh, really? Oh, good to know.
Yeah, it's like, when did this happen again? It's like it's the same thing, right? Gap between the two movies. It's like, when did you announce this? So
Yeah.
I guess at some point,
Yeah.
and then, you know, like, yeah, and like I, you know, credit to Jonathan Bailey on this. Like his expression, just like, what?
Yeah, Jonathan Bailey is really good. I like him. I mean,
He's very good,
I've
yeah.
watched Bridgerton. I thought that he was one of the better parts in the new Jurassic World movie. I thought he was good in the first part, and he's good here too. Like,
Yeah, very charming, very charismatic.
He is,
actor.
but again, you have that dancing through life song in the first movie and / first act is so good, and they're going through the library and people are like going upside down on book wheels that are spinning and everything. Like, he just has so much more to do in the first movie, and that's the problem, is like Jonathan Bailey doesn't get a chance to shine. He has a couple scenes where he kind of stands up to the wizard and stands up for Elphaba, but he does not get a chance to do like a show-stopping number. You know, he doesn't get to show how charismatic he is in this movie. I just think that it just doesn't give a lot of these really good actors enough to do. And I'm super curious how the reception is going to be long-term again for people, because they're going to this movie as an event movie. They loved the first one. It was so fun. And then they go to this one, and I just don't know how many people are going to leave the theater being like, oh, I loved it. Like, it was so fun. Like, it's just, I don't know. I mean, it's
not fun.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's act
not
2,
fun.
like I said, it's like Into the Woods.
Yeah.
It's not fun, and it's not supposed to be fun. And so, like, I think, you know, like I do think a lot of people long term will skip the second one. Like, they'll sit down to watch them both, but they'll watch the first one, and now it's been 3 hours.
Let's take an intermission.
And I'll get to the other one tomorrow, and then they never actually do.
Yeah.
I felt like the reveal for Scarecrow and Tin Man, I felt like they didn't hit the same for me as it did in the stage musical.
Yeah.
Did they like, it's been a while since I've seen the stage production of Wicked. Did they change how that gets revealed? I just remember when it hit in the stage musical, it like really caught me off guard. Like, I didn't realize that that's what they were doing, and that's kind of such that idea of like, we're telling this side version of a story, and it's going to retcon the source material in a way you weren't expecting. That's such kind of a nerd thing that like I wasn't expecting it from like a Broadway musical about the Wizard of Oz. So like, it really was kind of like, holy, that's really cool. Like, I loved that. It totally blindsided me in a way that if another property had done it, I maybe would have seen it coming. And so I don't know if it didn't hit the same just because I already knew it. It just that those parts felt kind of flat to me.
That's a good question. I think so. They're pretty similar from what I remember. On the stage play, it happens quicker though. Again, everything is stretched out in this movie. Everything is padded out. So in the play, and I was just about to get into these points. I'm glad you brought it up. So the big things that happen.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, we talked about the lion already. So the way that you get the Tin Man is Nessa, Elphaba's sister, who is now the governor of Munchkin Land. She's doing some really crappy stuff. Like she has not only made it so that who was it that needed permission before Munchkins? It was it animals? Animals could not travel and leave Oz, get on the trains and all that. And then Bach basically says, Nessa, I think it's time for me to move on. And she's like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll be seeing you soon. And then he goes to the train station, and basically there's like scrawled on the sign that says no animals can travel. It's like, or Munchkins, right? And so she's made it so that now she's trapped him there. And so he goes back to her and is very cold, and like he's delivering her tea, being her servant like he was before, but instead of them having this loving relationship, he's just like, here you go, governor, and then sets it down or whatever. And she wants to, let's play a friendly game of cards, and he's like, I'm good, and she's like, fine. And she gets so mad at him, and she's like, and Elphaba comes to visit her, and meanwhile she's got the book there with her, and she ends up saying like, I'm gonna take your heart will be mine no matter what, something like that, your heart will be mine. So she tries to read from the book, and of course she has no idea what she's reading or saying, and she ends up having casting.
I think it was like, if you're going to be heartless, then I'll make you heartless. And it removed his heart.
Yeah, essentially. But I felt like it was more like she was saying like, your heart will be mine, or like I felt like she meant more like she wasn't trying to just like kill him or anything. She was trying to like get him, but it goes awry, and essentially it starts shrinking and basically destroying his heart. And so Elphaba really quickly
he that's what we call he got ungrinched.
He got ungrinched.
His heart shrunk 3 times that day.
It did. And so Elphaba quickly, she's like, Nessa, go, I'll take care of this. I'm going to do what I can. And Nessa says, save him. And so she starts reading from the book and trying to do something. And essentially what it is like she had to turn him into something that didn't require a heart, right? So the Tin Man's mechanical, and then he ends up busting out of the doors. Like Elphaba comes out and is like, he's good, he's sleeping, he won't need a heart anymore. And then all of a sudden he comes bursting out of the door and like, what is going on here? What and it kind of turns into this big production. On the stage play, Nessa's just basically like, kind of the same thing, like, I'll whatever, if you don't have a heart, I'll do this, and reads the thing. And then he's like kind of on this edge of the stage or away, and then it's like the lights flash or whatever, and he's like, what's happening? And then he turns around, or he's sitting in a chair and he's the Tin Man. Like it happens so quickly, but it's essentially the same reveal, but it all happens on stage at the same time. And then with Fiyero, I think it's similar as well, but they turn it into this big production where Fiyero, this is the moment Shaurya and I were talking about, where he has to defend Elphaba. Like the whole Oz guard is coming to get Elphaba, and they finally have her, and Osgard Perkins. No. He comes out and he's like, hey, stop, and he's got his guard with him, and he essentially turns on them and is like, you're not going to take her, and he defends her, and everyone's like, oh, what are you doing, Fiyero? And then he's just like, I'll hold them off, you go. And meanwhile, we should say, just if we are spoiling it, like Elphaba and Fiyero have hooked up since then. He runs away from the whole wedding situation that goes awry when the animals she let out of the cages all stampede on everything, and he leaves there, and Glinda realizes that he really has been in love with Elphaba the whole time. He goes into the woods, finds her, they hook up and have their moment, and so now it's like he's like, I don't know if I'll ever see you again, but go and I'll take care of these guards. And they end up like, it flashes to them like beating the crap out of him out in the cornfield. And meanwhile, Elphaba again has to turn to the book to be like, save him, let him feel no pain, let him not ever suffer. And so the way that the book spirals that into it is like, okay, well, we'll turn him into a scarecrow who can not feel pain. He's just stuffing and burlap sack or whatever. So I think
think one of the problems I have with this is as they stretch this out, it gives you more time to think about it, right?
Yeah.
And as I think about it, like, and I don't know if this is addressed in the play, but I'm like, so like the Scarecrow and the Tin Man went on an adventure with Dorothy, and they weren't like, oh, the Wicked Witch of the West? Yeah, I know her.
No. You're 100% right, Tom. When you watch the movie and you have more time to sit in, I thought the exact same thing, because what happens is Dorothy, who you never see, from the face on, she's like, you see the blue dress and the shoes and everything, and you see Toto running around, but she's like an ancillary character. And when she shows up and the house lands on Nessa Rose, which is coming up here after all this goes awry, Madame Morrible casts a spell to try to get Elphaba back, because I think Glinda the one that says, like, if you want to get to her, you need to get to her sister and she'll come rescue her.
Yeah.
Okay. So Glinda, unfortunately, she's been hurt by Fiyero and the fact that she went to Elphaba. So she's like, yeah, just use her sister to get to her. And so she ends up sending Madame Morrible creates the cyclone, and that brings the house, and it lands on Nessa Rose. Is Nessa Rose her name, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it lands on her, and then she basically, Glinda's there, and she gives the shoes to her, and it is kind of a funny interaction where Elphaba shows up and she's like, let me mourn my sister alone. And you gave her the only thing I had of her shoes. And then Glinda's like, I'm supposed to, be supportive and whatever. Like, it's kind of funny the way that they play it up.
Mm-hmm.
But essentially that whole thing from Wizard of Oz happens. You see Dorothy in the background, heading out on the yellow brick road. And then
I thought it was odd that when the house lands on her, you never get that iconic shot of the shoes
curling up
out
or whatever.
Or just her feet sticking out under the house.
Yeah, maybe they thought like in modern times that was a little graphic or something, like the fact that she just got, it's not the 1930s anymore.
Well, I understand that, but at the same time, you did very much like, give us a version of a sex scene in this movie, which is like, it's like, if you can do that, I'm pretty sure you can have two legs sticking out, like,
True, you're right. Like for what it is,
bell sound effect, like.
I mean, it's not a graphic sex scene, but you're right, it is there. So like the subject matter is kind of.
I know it's not.
Yeah, but
you sound a little disappointed.
And if I can just add. Okay. And if I can just add something to that, I did kind of like chuckle earlier when you mentioned that they did hook up, because at my screening of the movie, a very excited audience when that scene was going down. But in fact, so much so, like there was this entire row of people of this group of friends. I think they were all dressed like Glinda or Elphaba or something like that, and all just going wee, and we were all just looking at like 3 rows away, just being like, oh, that's these guys, right? Y'all having fun, huh?
That's funny.
Yeah, we just were like, I'm they're enjoying this.
Yeah, well, I'm glad they did, but yeah, I mean, you're right, they could have shown more. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but you get those little glimpses of how the play would bring in the Wizard of Oz, and then later on you see now the group of 3 of them have gone into the main city of Oz, and they're like, Tin Man is really mad. He's mad that Nessa Rose and Elphaba, really, he blames for turning him into this mechanical being. And then he's got the lion, and he's like, oh, look what they did to this poor lion. Again, bringing that whole thing up I won't get into. And then Scarecrow, you don't see at all. But you're right, Tom. You have all this time to live in this moment, and you're like, wouldn't the Scarecrow speak up and be like, that's my friend/lover? Like, we're not gonna go after her.
Yeah,
but
I'm not gonna try and go on this let's kill her adventure with you.
But in the movie, if you remember, none, because of course it's retcon, but in the movie and in the original book, they're all like, yeah, we got to go get the Wicked Witch so that Dorothy can go home and we can get all our stuff. Like, so I don't feel like they retcon it very well, because these characters, at least Scarecrow, would not be going along on this journey like he did in the first movie, unless you say he didn't have a brain, so he's goofy. But the Scarecrow in this movie, Fiyero, is perfectly capable and does not act like he's missing a brain. So I don't know. It just doesn't.
So my interpretation of this is that I feel like they're trying to play along with it. I think they're trying to imply that they're playing along with it, just like, hey, this is all
Right.
part of the act. We're basically just trying to get to a situation over here where we
Okay.
can get Elphaba out of this. So
Okay,
you know what?
okay, that's fair.
You know, yeah,
And
because
maybe
that's how
'cause
they.
I
sorry.
think they're clearly going to hoping to milk this for more, and I think it would be interesting to see a wickedization of the Wizard of Oz.
Yes, I 100% agree. They've got to retcon it again in a different way to where you see the like, I don't know, the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern or something,
Right.
whether they make a new one or do like a side project, because they've said that with the success of these two movies, I think it cost them $500 million total to film the two movies and split them up. And you've got 700, almost 800 million on the first one. And this one's already at 240 plus, it's going to get there eventually. They're making a ton of money. And so they said they're already working on sequels, and the writers have said that they're not only working on sequels, but also not necessarily sequels or prequels, meaning like taking place at the same time. And so I do wonder if that means that they are working on a Wizard of Oz, what's happening simultaneously.
Who currently owns the rights to the classic Wizard of Oz?
Wouldn't you think Amazon MGM would? I still have the rights.
I think it's Warner.
I think it's Warner Brothers,
Oh,
because
okay.
when Ted Turner sold off a bunch of like pre-1960s MGM stuff to fund like the rise of CNN and TBS and stuff like that. So like, even though it's an MGM movie, I don't think it's owned by MGM.
Yeah, you're right. It is owned by WB. I just looked it up, so it must have been during that deal.
Because I have the 4K language, man. It's still Warner Brothers. But anyway, sorry, go on.
No, it was because I think like one of the biggest problems I have with trying to make sequels to this is there are lots of stories, there are lots of wicked books, right?
Tons
like
of Wizard of Oz books too.
Yeah. I mean, there was like I think like 12 or 18 original Wizard like Oz stories by Frank L. Baum, and then or L. Frank Baum, I forget.
L. Frank Baum, yeah.
There we go. And then but there's also like 8 or 10 wicked books. Like there's a whole bunch. So there's a lot of story. I think the biggest stumbling block they would have is coming up with songs, right? Because like they have 3 very iconic songs in this, and that's hard to replicate, right?
Yeah.
And so doing a wickedization of the Wizard of Oz, if you can get those songs, like you've already got your iconic songs, right? And and maybe you do remixes or like kind of ironic arrangements or whatever to make them feel new and fresh, and then you throw in a couple new songs of your own and hope one of them hits. But like there's not a very good track record for musicals created specifically for the screen.
Yeah.
Like at least certainly not in recent times.
It's rare for sure. And
Yeah.
think about, you said how many books there are, but there's one Wizard of Oz. Like, the other ones have failed that they've tried to make, but there's one really good Wizard of Oz. There's one musical, Wicked, like with those songs. It's not like there's 12 great musicals based on Wizard of Oz. It's hard to do and make it successful. So I'll be curious to see. I mean, with the money these make, they're going to try, but they've got to figure out how to recapture that magic. And like you said, come up with original songs. Like Disney is pretty good at it. They've stumbled recently a little bit, but like, Disney, they used to have a pretty good track record of you came out with a movie and you'll get a ton of really good songs and they're the top of the charts and everything. And they're going to have to, maybe they get some of the people that do work with Disney, like the Lopez, Robert, Kristen Anderson Lopez that do, they did Avenue Q, then they did Frozen, then they did Coco. Then they've done the songs in WandaVision. Like they are amazing. The husband and wife songwriting duo. I think they've got an EGOT. They need to get someone like that on board, or you get the La La Land guys. I mean, they've got to get. Pasek and Paul, you've got to get some big talent in that, like, hey, you want to do this and you want to make $billion sequels, like we've got to get the real, get Lin-Manuel Miranda, or get someone that
God, no.
you don't want him to do.
Okay,
Yeah, he doesn't. I don't.
Okay, you
think,
know what?
Look, I like Lin-Manuel Miranda a lot. I don't think tonally he fits Wicked in any way, shape, or form.
No, he doesn't. No.
I get that. Yeah. But
no,
you
I
need
was
someone of that
just
caliber. Yeah.
No.
What's that, Shaurya?
No, I was just gonna say, like, I know that there's critiques about Lin-Manuel Miranda, but I distinctly remember watching Moana 2, which he did not do the music for. He did the first one, and being like, this is not as good as the first one, man. You kind of needed him.
There's no question. First one is incredible. We watched that. My son watches Moana constantly, and those songs are so good.
And I don't think
that's a great movie.
Like,
I cannot remember anything from the second one.
Yeah.
Lin-Manuel Miranda
go on.
Doesn't have the skill set, and this isn't necessarily an insult. He doesn't have the skill set to sound like anybody else, and so I don't know that he could create songs that you could insert into the world of Wicked. I mean, like we saw what happened with the live action Little Mermaid. Like, they were like, oh, we'll throw in a Lin-Manuel Miranda song, people will love it, and it was just
tonally it didn't match.
It didn't fit. Like, I didn't even dislike the song. It just but why is this here? It sounds nothing like what the rest of the song sound like.
The only thing I'll say, Tom, is I agree. He does have obviously a sound, right? So like In the Heights, Bring It On the Musical, Hamilton. Obviously, some songs in Moana
Tick, Tick,
have that kind of rappy feel to them. Yeah, Tick Tick Boom's amazing. Directorial debut, love that movie. Just watched it again a couple months ago. But Moana does not sound like Lin-Manuel Miranda, with the exception of like You're Welcome but like the songs are really good, and so I feel like he maybe has it in him, but his strong suit obviously is the kind of rap musical. Like, he's very good at it. They're very fun songs, but they need someone like that is the point. But just to wrap this up, so they end up gathering. You've got the Tin Man, you've got the Scarecrow. Scarecrow kind of saves Elphaba, or Fiyero does, but turns into the Scarecrow, and Glinda ends up kind of stepping up and defending Elphaba, and turns on the wizard and Madame Morble, and they planned. So one thing that they ended on, I wasn't sure how they were going to change the ending, is they have the way that the Wicked Witch melts in The Wizard of Oz. They show you that Fiyero and Elphaba kind of staged this to where she's going to pretend, because of this rumor going around, you could melt her with water. She's going to stage it to where Dorothy gets a bunch of water. They've asked previously, like, hey, bring a bunch of water up here to get the witch. And Dorothy takes the bucket of water. You see the shadow on the wall of, I'm melting, and it seems like Elphaba is melting, but she's really under a trap door. And Fiyero, as the Scarecrow, comes back at the end of the movie, gets her out of there, and they run off together. And they're like, I hope, I know we can't ever tell Glinda, but like, I wish she knew that we were okay. And they kind of just leave it at that. And Glinda's now the ruler of, she's kicked out the wizard, she's kicked out Madame Morble. Like, I thought actually was kind of dark, where she's like, you're gonna go live in a cage now and be tortured or something. I was like, whoa. She really for trying to be good. I mean, I get that this lady was a villain and did some bad stuff, but I'm like, holy crap. She literally is like, see how you like living in a cage, and then like the monkeys carry her off. But yeah, now she's the ruler of Oz, and I've never read, I don't think, any of the other Oz books, and I've never read the other Wicked books. I didn't know if you guys knew. Is that how it ends, that Glinda becomes like the ruler of Oz?
I have no idea. You can buy all the original Wizard of Oz books, like all 20 of them or whatever, for like 50 cents.
Yeah.
They're all in the public on Kindle.
Yeah,
they're all like in the
public.
Yeah. They're all in the public domain. So you can get it dirt cheap, but I've never read any of them, not even the Wizard of Oz. But and I have not read the Wicked books, so like I have no idea. But I know it's very much like it's a very big Byzantine tale that they've constructed around all of this. And like, I know that they go back and you get I think you get 3 books about Elphaba's childhood. Like they've definitely like fleshed out that whole world. And I will say, when people talk about how Disney fights stuff going into the public domain, you would not have Wicked if it were not for the public domain, right? And like that's that's what allowed them to be able to take that property and create this entirely new vision based around it.
Yeah.
So I know some people are quick to defend, like, well, Disney should be able to have these rights forever. I'm like, okay, I mean, yes and no. Like, I see both sides of that. And I know in the short term, all we're getting are like just really horror movies that are lazy based on IP.
Mickey and Popeye. And,
right. You're getting a Betty Boop one now.
Oh my gosh.
But this is how you get or like if you enjoyed League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, the comic book, not the movie, same thing. Like, right, those are all public domain characters that Alan Moore was like remixing and like taking the core elements but turning them on their head.
Yeah,
which is what makes Wicked so great.
Right. Yeah. Well, I hope they do it. I hope they find a way to. I think one thing they're going to struggle with besides from the songs is the star power, right? Like you come to this for Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. They're both so good. If you do a sequel and they're like, oh yeah, but this is telling this other story in the same universe, I think people might be like, huh? Like, I'm here for these two, but can they really be the star? Like, it doesn't, how does that work? Because now, Elphaba's supposed to be dead, so to speak, so she can go live her life happily. So how could you possibly bring her back? It would undermine this. And then you can't make every movie, I don't think, about Galinda. So I just don't know how they're going to pull it off.
Well, a wickedization of Wizard of Oz would solve that problem, at least for one movie.
Exactly. I think that's the easy answer. But then from there, how do they expand this franchise without the two characters that have really become the stars of it that you're going to see?
Yeah.
But yeah, this was decent. Once it finds its footing, I was entertained. Like the first 20-30 minutes, I was really kind of dreading the rest of it, like, what are we getting into here? But once it got going, I thought it was decent. And it's overlong, and I think the whole thing combined is overlong, but it's a decent adaptation of the material.
Yeah, I would agree. I just wish it had been tighter in one movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Kevin. You can follow me on Twitter at KevinRBrackett.
And Shaurya, where can they find you and your wares?
I'm mostly on YouTube under my name, Shaurya Chawla. You can come and check out reviews and stuff that I talk about. I'm having some fun with that. And I'm also on Twitter under the same name, at underscore Shaurya Chawla, because at Shaurya Chawla is taken. I don't know who he is, but I will find him. But you can... you can go on all my social medias there.
Perfect.
This is Tom. You can find me on Blue Sky and Threads at Tom O'Keefe Jr. or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, Nurse Wilson gets arrested.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, 'cause we already